minutes. T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0.
What's going on, YouTube? Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you guys had a really good weekend. And thank you, Jay Tabor. I can't wait to have 20,000 subs either. 20,000 and beyond. So hope you guys are doing really well. Make sure if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, take a moment, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also text the word YouTube to 35074. Like us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that fun stuff. All you got to do is go to any single one of those social media outlets and type in rdapdan and it will find it. So today's topic, we're talking about medical needs in federal prison and how does that work? Is medical good in federal prison? Is it horrible? Is it in between? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. The reason why we decided to make this a topic today is there's a gentleman I've been speaking to. He's not a client, just a viewer, and he's getting ready to go into federal prison, getting ready to get sentenced and whatnot. And he sent me a text message today asking, because he's going to get braces before he goes to federal prison, and he's asking about the medical in federal prison. My experience, I knew a couple of guys that had braces in federal prison, and it was horrible. They didn't treat it. Guys had issues. One guy had basically a sharp wire was kind of sticking out from his braces. Something had happened. I don't know if he broke it eating, but I just remember it took a very long time for them to finally go in and do something. And the only time we really saw them do anything with these guys with braces was removing the braces. They didn't treat them. They didn't go in and make adjustments. It's not like an orthodontist. Now, there may be some prisons that will take you out to the orthodontist and take care of this. He seems to have spoken to somebody that works at a prison that says, yeah, they'll take care of it. But he doesn't know what prison he's going to yet. And knowing what I know now, I would never in my right mind get braces put on before entering into the federal prison system. I think it's a horrible idea. There is medical in prison. They will take care of your necessities. If you know, like I thought I had skin cancer, they did take a biopsy, take me off the premises, brought me to an actual place to look at it. But medical in prison is not like medical on the street. You don't just go whenever you feel like it, and especially when it's something serious. So we're going to talk about stuff that's serious. A lot of you have asked me about this scar on several different, not in a lot of comments. I get questions on the scar. I've gotten comments on, you know, looks like I'm a junkie with track marks on my arm, and I can assure you these are not track marks. So this injury took place prior to going into federal prison. About a year before I went to federal prison, I decided to go out with Shelly and a bunch of her friends. It was one of her friends' birthdays. So we went to a country bar in West Palm Beach, Florida, and they had a mechanical bull ride. Well, we were all having a good time, a couple of drinks, actually quite a few drinks. I was riding mechanical bull, and I tried to find a picture of it because I do have a picture of it somewhere, just couldn't find it. Got off of the bull, everything was fine, and those big air platforms that the bulls sit on, those in case you fall off, like cushion, when I was stepping off of that, I had my hand on the ledge to balance myself. I was in my socks, and I stepped off, and my foot slipped, and all my weight hyperextended this arm, and the tendon inside snapped from about right here and went straight down my arm. I didn't know that at the time, but I felt it and I heard it, and it was really loud. It was really uncomfortable. Immediately, I knew something was wrong because I was holding my arm like this, and I tried to straighten it out and just couldn't do it. Got Shelly, said we need to leave. We immediately went to like a convenience store because it was very late at night, and I bought I think it was like a 5-pound bag of ice, and I basically slept with that bag of ice on my arm, and the next day, completely black and blue. Completely, it was just the worst feeling I'd ever had. I went online, immediately knew what happened. My bicep had detached, or my tendon had detached from my bicep. At this point, I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know if it was something that I could just, you know, let heal and it's going to get better. I wanted to believe that. I did not have medical insurance at the time, so I pretty much just let it go without even going to a doctor. I went to, I think, Walgreens or something. I bought a sling and just wore a regular sling around for a couple of weeks until the pain started to go away, but I had no strength in this arm. And you can still see the bicep versus, like you see here, the bicep goes all the way to my elbow, and on this arm, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a big gap right here where the bicep never grew back all the way. So what happened? Well, I was already indicted at this point. I was just waiting for my case to go forward and take my plea and all of these things. So I didn't know when I was going to prison. When I found out about a year later that I was actually going to go to federal prison, when it became real, I was like, you're really going to federal prison. I decided I want to try. What happened to the stream? Can you guys all hear me okay? All right, so source, what happened to the stream? It's not working. Source, I would try logging out and logging back in. If you guys can type that to her so I can continue with my story. Tell her to log out and log back in. I don't know why it's not, or him. I don't know why it's not working. So, before going into federal prison, when I found out my sentencing day, it was September 3rd, was my original self-surrender day. I decided to go to the hospital and find out what I could do. So I went and got insurance, went to the hospital. They did an MRI on my arm to see what was going on. And when the doctor came back with the results in the MRI a few days later, he said, you have no tendon. Your tendon is completely gone. So my tendon didn't just rupture. It wasn't a partial rupture. It was a full-on detached. He said the only thing going from a little bit of your bicep down here anywhere is a little bit of scar tissue. He goes, if that scar tissue breaks, which it will at some point, your bicep will end up in your shoulder and your arm's going to be completely useless. It was already pretty useless. I could barely carry a bag of groceries, a small bag of groceries, and there was no lifting the groceries up. It was just letting it hang from my arm. Couldn't throw a football, couldn't really do anything with this arm. Lost all use of anything strength-wise. Stopped going to the gym. So I was able to get an extension on my surrender date because I was supposed to surrender within like 2 weeks. So I was able to get an extension on my surrender date to September 23rd, which allowed me to go in, get the surgery done, which was they basically had to cut me open. They had to take a tendon from a cadaver, a dead person, from his Achilles heel. And it was like a 90-year-old man, they told me. It said it was a 90-year-old man's Achilles heel tendon, which they reinserted into my arm. It was a very gruesome surgery. It was painful. I was out of it for, actually, I've got some photos of that. Not of the actual surgery, but, so I'm going to give you guys a little, so after I hurt my arm, I was not able to go to the gym at all. At all. I was dead in the water. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background here on some photos that I found. We're going to pull up here. So this first photo is probably about 8 months before I went to prison. several months before I got the surgery. So here's the first photo. But I had not been able to work out. I had just given up. I'd started eating, just kind of accepting that I'm going to get fat and old. So here's picture number 1. All right, so this was me a couple of months before going to federal prison. Me, Shelly, and my daughter went to, I forgot where this place was. It was in Fort Lauderdale or somewhere down there in South Florida area where they had, you can see behind me, you can see the cables point. Up here, where are we at? You can see these cables that kind of go through the air back there behind the picture. And it was a water ski park, a cable park, where you hang on to cables and you can either wakeboard or jet ski. And I was trying to do this with my bad arm, couldn't stay up, nothing. It was really bad. And this is what I let myself get to, out of shape, not feeling right, just completely getting old. That's right, Kevin. RDAP Fat Dan. That was me, RDAP Fat Dan. So then once I found out I was going to prison, I decided to go get the surgery. So let's show you a couple of photos of that. So we got, this is the day of the surgery, okay? This is after I got home. I was out of it. I was on all kinds of drugs because I was out cold for several hours while they did this surgery. So they wrapped up my arm, they put me in this sling, and my friend wanted to take a picture because he says that I looked ridiculous. So he wanted to take a picture of me, but this is me just coming home in comfortable clothes to go home and sleep, thinking about getting ready to go to federal prison in a couple of weeks. It was a really, really shitty, yeah, very slobbed out. This is right after waking up after a surgery. I don't know many people that look their best, even though I don't look my best right now. I didn't even do my hair for you guys today. But I felt horrible. Felt absolutely horrible. So now, let's show you a couple other pictures here. Here is me at the doctor about a week later. They wanted to look and see how it was looking. So as you can see it on my arm. It's a little darker here. We've actually got a bigger picture. Let's pull up this bigger picture of the scar. It was my Harry Potter scar. So that's the fresh after. It still has the stitches are still in there. It's got the lines that the doctor drew on my arm. And this, I don't know why he did this crazy design, but this was a very, very painful surgery, guys. I'm not one that really complains a whole lot about pain, but this, let me get back in the picture here. This was just nasty. This was so painful. And as soon as, okay, they gave me, I forgot what it was. They gave me the, when they knock you out to numb your arm, they like shot my arm up with this stuff so I couldn't feel anything. When that wore off, oh my God, just like sneezing or rolling over at night and have my arm in this big giant cast that you guys saw, it was the most painful thing ever. And I didn't want to take the pain narcotics that they gave me because I was getting ready to go to prison, so I didn't want to develop an addiction before I got there. So, which picture are we on there? We're on picture 4. Okay, so now, I was told by my doctor that at best, I was told I was required, I needed 6 months of physical therapy in order to give my arm a shot of being 30% to its capacity. So he basically told me, because I'd waited so long, didn't get this surgery in time, he told me that I was going to go probably, sorry, let's pull this one back up. Let's kind of leave it on this one here. So he said, at best, I'd have about 30% use of my arm, strength-wise. He said, you'd be able to use it for everything, you know, moving around fine. But strength-wise, he said, at best, 30% with 6 months of intense physical therapy. So he wrote me all these prescriptions and all of these doctor's notes to let the BOP know that I was going to need physical therapy in the BOP. And he's like, yeah, the prison should give you physical therapy, no problem. I got to prison, and as you guys remember, I wore that prison costume in. I don't have a picture of that on me right now to show it, but I had the prison costume that I wore in. They did not find that funny. When they ripped it off me, they ranked my arm behind my back and put me in handcuffs, and I was trying to tell them about the surgery, and you could see it. It ripped open the scar. It was definitely bleeding. They brought me in the back. All they did was put some bandages on it. They didn't really check me out, nothing. I never received physical therapy. I was told they don't have the ability to do that. They're not going to take me out for that. And my cop-outs kept going unannounced or unrequested. So I started doing what I could, freaking out that my arm was never going to be able to be used again. So I started, of course, just walking the track on a daily basis. And I started seeing all the other people in there with medical needs, braces, guys that had in wheelchairs that needed they needed medical devices. They weren't getting it. So I realized that medical in the BOP is real limited, that you do not want to be on your deathbed or having an issue like this in the BOP. At that point, I was wishing that I hadn't had the surgery, because I felt like, oh my God, I'm going to be stuck like this forever. So I started doing what I could, walking the track, trying to stretch my arm out. I would just literally like use my pillowcase with a couple of books in it and slowly started lifting it. So I was putting myself through my own version of physical therapy. And there were some guys that were in there that had been doctors in the past, so they were giving me some ideas. They weren't allowed to give any kind of medical advice. They could get in a lot of trouble, so they were very careful about what they told me. So I started working my arm out, and remember, I got to prison September 23rd, 2014. This picture I'm about to show you, this picture was taken February of 2015, or it's either February or January. So let's go ahead and, so I was told my arm would never get back to its full use, and at that point it would have been very easy to give up, and I decided not to give up and kept pushing. So from September to February, transformation for me was amazing. So this was February of 2017. So and it's crazy for me to see these pictures. So when I see that picture, and then I go all the way back to, when I go back to that, which was just a few months earlier, if it had not been for going through the federal prison system, I never would have allowed myself this opportunity to take it serious and put so much effort into fitness, because I was so determined to prove the doctor wrong. You can still see in my arm over here, let me see if I can, you can't really see it, but I'm trying to point it on the camera. The arm with the white bracelet, if you look at my bicep, it's still smaller than the other bicep. It's still like a ball. And you know, I just decided that I wasn't going to listen to what the prison wasn't willing to do anything to give me physical therapy. I wasn't willing to listen. I got in really good shape in prison. You know, once I got home, I kept it going. You know, you can still see, if you look at my right bicep in that picture, you can still see it's shorter than my left bicep. It's still not 100% strength-wise of my left arm, but it's definitely not 30%. But the point is when you just, and this basic concept is also what we have to do when we're focusing on prison in general, is if you just listen to what everybody tells you, you're going to get this sentence, this is going to happen, you roll over and you play dead, then yeah, that's probably going to be the outcome. You know, I've decided to, you know, I still wear, you can almost see my bicep in that picture, but you know, I never allowed myself to give up, and to this day, I'm in better shape with a bum arm than I ever was prior to going to federal prison. So yeah, federal prison is no fun at all, but you take this and you turn it into something that you never intended it to be. You have to make lemonade out of lemons, whatever you want to call this scenario, guys, whatever cliche you want to use. The point is if you give up on federal prison, if you give up on your life going into federal prison, you're going to get involved in shenanigans, you're not going to get in shape, you're going to eat horrible, and you're just going to blame everything on the system when you get released. The same guy that I spoke to earlier today, the one that told me he was going to get braces before going into prison, I told him it's a horrible idea. I wouldn't do it. I think he's going to do it. I think there's no talking him out of it at this point. Now, the other interesting conversation, he was possibly going to become a client, but he sent me a text message today saying after talking to his mom or his parents and his attorney, he decided that our letter writing service wasn't going to be worth the $1,500 that we charge. And you know, I can't argue with that, because I understand when you're in that situation, you don't really know who to believe, who to trust. I can tell you, he showed me a text message that his attorney sent him, and his attorney said it's different in the feds. This type of stuff doesn't really make a difference in the federal system. You've already explained everything in your pre-sentence report. That's really all you need. So he's getting really bad advice from an attorney who's telling him, just enjoy the holidays, don't really stress. And he's looking at a potential long time in prison. We're not talking about potentially a year or two. He's looking at 6 years, 10 years, he doesn't know yet. And he's got an immigration hold on him, which means he's not going to be able to benefit from halfway house or RDAP. He's going to be deported after his sentence. What he's hoping for is to get transferred from here to the country that he's from, which can happen. And where he's from, you don't serve 85%, you only serve 50% of your sentence. So if he can get deported back to where he's from, he would really benefit, because now he wouldn't have a hold on him any longer. He could get released sooner. It's all the more reason to be working your ass off right now to get the judge to sentence you to the lowest possible sentence. So when you do get back to your home country, if you only have to serve 50%, it's that much sooner. If he ended up only getting a 60-month sentence and he got home, you know, 2.5 years, he's out of prison, guys. And he just has, after talking to his, and he sent me I found his attorney. His attorney has got a bunch of really good reviews, but his attorney is primarily a DWI or DUI attorney, tickets, helping you get tickets. So he's got great reviews on getting you out of DUIs and getting you out of speeding tickets. So he's carrying those reviews over to his federal practice, which two different worlds, night and day. You know, DUI tickets, then you got state criminal crimes, then you got the federal system when it comes to criminal defense. Completely two different worlds. This attorney is absolutely giving this guy horrible information, horrible advice, and I can't blame the client for taking it, because that's what you think you're supposed to do. You don't know, a lot of times, you don't know any better until you've gone through these situations. That's why I try to post these videos with people like Jay, who did a video with me the other day, who received probation. That's not every case, so that video is not intended to make everybody think they're going to get probation. But what it does is it raises the bar of expectation of what's available. Some people believe you can't. I've heard clients say, oh, it's impossible. The federal system doesn't give probation. You can't get just probation on the federal system. It's absolutely not true. You can get probation or supervised release, whatever you want to call it. Jay was given 6 months home confinement and 5 years federal probation. So it's proof that it can happen. But what are you willing to do to work for it? It's easy to go, oh, well, this person said you can't do it, so I'm not going to do it. At some point, you've got to be willing to take a little bit of a chance and outweigh the risk versus the reward. The risk is you're paying $1,500 and nothing might happen. Maybe the judge doesn't care about your letters. Maybe all of the hard work you've put in, maybe none of that's going to matter. But if there's 1% chance that it could matter and it could affect your sentence by 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%, 100%, you don't know. It's well worth it. If I could tell you, I guarantee you're only going to get probation for $1,500. Everybody and their mother would find a way to come up with this money. What it is people aren't putting enough value, and they're trusting too many other authority figures who are giving them bad information. I had an awesome conversation today with a probation officer out of 801 area code. Is it Utah? A guy named Greg Peterson. Probation officer who runs a program out of their office there, helping guys on pretrial, like a pretrial services, getting you ready to go to prison, or actual preparation course. And I had a very good conversation with him. And out of a lot of the different probation officers that I've spoken to, this guy seems to have a real good grasp on putting people's interest first. He's got them talking to ex-felons that have been to prison. He's basically doing the same thing that we're doing here, but he's doing it on a smaller scale just in his hometown for guys that are on probation, which is amazing to see somebody putting that type of effort, because these probation officers don't get paid for that. These probation officers that do this stuff on their own time is them being basically like a hero. You know, that's the way I see it. They're not getting paid, but they want to be able to give somebody a little bit of comfort, reduce some anxiety, help them prepare. So I'm really hoping that people like Greg, the probation officer, will want to do collaborations with what we're doing, because there's so much good information that we can share with them, that they can share with me. I would love to have somebody like him come on the show and share his vast knowledge with all of you to help you guys with the situation of what's going on in your life. Everybody's got probation questions. Everybody's got home confinement questions. Everybody has halfway house questions. And yes, I do my best to answer it, but I'm one person that's gone through it. Having somebody that sees people going through it every day, being he's their probation officer, that's another level of authority that can give you some really good insight that can help you carry on with what it is you need to do. Is Jay in the room? Oh, that's a different Jay, Mike. Not Jay Tabor, a different Jay. That was Jay Hugasane. But Jay Tabor's probably got just as an amazing story. But I met Dan here when I was finishing my probation after coming out of the feds. Now 100% free man. That's amazing. Who else we got on here? What's pretrial services? Pretrial services is basically once you've been charged federally, and if they do not remand you right away into sentencing, if you're out on bond while you're in the feds, you're basically on probation until you're sentenced or until you go into federal prison. So you're being overseen by probation. So it's called pretrial because you're on pretrial still waiting to go to trial. And they basically you can get drug tested, you have to check in monthly, sometimes you have to check in weekly. I had to do a weekly phone call, monthly check-in, and I think I only got drug tested once or twice while I was on pretrial. But I was fortunate. I had an awesome pretrial probation officer by the name of Ken, holy cow, I forgot his last name. Ken Goldberg. Ken Goldberg was my pretrial probation officer out of West Palm Beach, Florida. And I've reached out to him a few times. I've had a couple of conversations with him. But a lot of these guys, their hands are tied with how much they can get involved with something like with what I'm doing. A lot of red tape they got to go through. But I can tell you, a lot of these guys, their hearts are in the right place. Their hands are just tied politically on what they can do. And that's what makes this all so fucked up, because you're so limited. If you're in an industry to help somebody, but you're being tied down by the corporate structure who is afraid how it might look or how it might appear, even though the vast help that it could produce, and you're being told you can't, you can't, you can't. That's a very frustrating field of any field to be in. So I really just wanted to touch base on that a little bit, guys, and talk about if you're going to federal prison, if you're thinking about getting braces on your face, like in your mouth, and you're going to be serving anything more than, a few months, don't do it, because there's so many issues that could arise. You don't want to be in prison and something goes wrong with your braces and you can't get the help that you need, not to mention the money that you're going to spend to put them on. Wait till you get out of prison. Get braces later on. I hope this guy, if you're watching this video right now, I hope you take this real serious. He told me if I comment on him, the only thing I have to say is he's the handsome Czech guy. He's from Czech Republic. Sorry, tongue-tied today. And he said to let you guys know he's the handsome Czech man. So that's what I had to say for mentioning his story. But really nice kid. He's real young. He's in his 20s, and he just he's getting a lot of bad advice right now, which potentially could have him serving a longer sentence. I know if I was looking at some serious time, the last thing I'd be doing is relaxing and enjoying my holidays. Granted, it's going to be your last holidays for being out, but I want to enjoy as many holidays in the future as possible, not spending it in prison. So now is not, if you haven't been sentenced yet, I don't care if you're looking forward to Christmas, Thanksgiving, now is not the time to relax. Now is the time to kick it into overdrive. So if your attorney is giving you some bullshit line telling you to relax and enjoy the holidays, do not. Do the opposite. Do the opposite. Do not listen to him. So I'm assuming you have to take a plea first before pretrial services. No, not at all. Basically, like if let's say you got arrested today, source, if you got arrested today and the judge grants you bond, you immediately get put on pretrial services. During your time on pretrial services is when you're going to decide whether or not you're going to accept a plea. But I was on pretrial services for almost 2 years before I took my plea. Some people are on even longer. These situations go real long. But for those of you, somebody was asking about the scar. So it's still healing. That's where it's at right now. When I work out, it turns super purple and gets really itchy. I guess because the blood flowing to the scar area. Hey, Edward, how are you going, my man? Edward is in the room. Got Mike Winters, Jay, Kevin, Source. Got a lot of good people showing up tonight. So yeah, that's my story on the federal prison system with medical needs. If you need medical in federal prison, keep your expectations low. If you need some serious surgeries before prison, get them done before prison, because they're probably not going to do it while you're in prison. If you're expecting physical therapy while you're in prison, don't hold your breath. You know, you just got to realize it's not the free world. They're going to treat you the way they want. And yeah, you can try to sue them and you might even win, but at the end of the day, it's just not worth the headache. So if you're getting braces, wait till you get out of prison. If you've already got them, go get them taken off. Fuck that. I would not want to enter in the prison system with braces. Not an idea. There he is. That's Hansa. This is the gentleman we're talking about, guys. He just joined the room. Well, I'm glad you decided to jump in with us, Hansa. That's the handsome Czech guy we were talking about. He's the gentleman that's going to be getting braces before he goes to prison, and he's also the gentleman I told you guys about that his attorney told him that personal narratives and character reference letters aren't really that important in the federal system. And I can't tell you enough how completely inaccurate that is. And there's several people in this room that will tell you the difference. Some of them are clients. Mike Winters is a client of ours. I wish we had a few other in here for you, Hansa, to talk to. But Hansa, if you want to talk to some clients that have gone through this with me, you know, they can tell you firsthand on the impact that this has had on them going into sentencing. So take it for what it is, my man. You know, it happens all the time. I see people in your situation that get that information from their attorneys, and it ties my hands, because you know, who you're going to believe? You're going to believe the guy that went to law school and has a master's degree, or you're going to believe the ex-con who's trying to charge you $1,500 to help you. So I get it. I get why there's hesitation. I get why your parents are going with what the attorney said. I would do the same thing if I was in your situation. It would be real hard for me to believe somebody. But I wish I'd met you earlier, so we had more time to build a rapport and a relationship going through this, so you would see it for what it is and be able to make your own actual real assessments based on facts. You know, you've got a rough sentence potentially ahead of you, and as you told me, you know, once you can get to your home country, the amount of time you serve is only 50% versus 85%. It's that much more reason to want to get the judge to do everything within your power to give that judge a reason to potentially sentence you to the shortest sentence possible to serve the least amount of time if you make it home. So if you have any questions between now and then, my man, of course you can call me. Feel free, if you have questions, just jump on and let's talk. Molinesque, how you doing in the house? That's the interview you did on Saturday, was pretty awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, you know, it's a victory for Jay. Jay was looking at 30 some odd months in prison, and he got straight probation. And the judge flat out told him it's because of everything you've done, it's because of your letters, it's because of your personal narrative, because of your well-written pre-sentence, the pre-sentence report recommendation came back. So many factors go into what ultimately is going to happen in someone's sentence. There's no guarantee that anything you do is going to make a difference, but if you don't do anything, you can be guaranteed nothing's going to happen. So you got to put in some investment. You got to put some effort and energy into this. When you talk about how much money you spend on attorneys and legal fees, and then you tell your attorney you want to hire somebody for $1,500, and he shrugs his shoulders. You know, this guy just got done charging you a small fortune to basically help you get a plea that a federally appointed attorney could have done for free. And then when somebody wants to give you some real life information, some real life wisdom on what actually makes a difference at sentencing, they want to throw their hands up and say it's bullshit or it's a scam. And it's probably because there are a lot of shady characters out there who do take advantage of people, who don't actually do work. They just give you some quick knowledge and think that's enough, and they're charging you 5, 10, 15 grand for the same thing. What we do, hands down, I don't think anybody in the industry is doing it. And we take pride in what we do, but we're not going to, you know, I can't twist somebody's arm to see the benefits of what they're missing out on by not looking a little bit deeper beyond what their attorney is telling them. Anyway, hope you guys have a great week. I have dinner waiting for me in another room, and it smells amazing. I've been sticking to this fast I told you guys about. I stop eating at 8 p.m. and I don't eat again till after 12 p.m. So I go from 8 p.m. at night until noon the next day with 0 calories, And I'm telling you guys, it's made me feel absolutely amazing. I dare any of you to go ahead and give it a try. Try it for a week, and I'm telling you, you'll feel so much more energetic, more clarity in your mind. Give it a shot. When the prosecutor calls you a junkie, then the judge tells the prosecutor to get over it and continues the case. That's saying something about your letters, Dan. I think, and that's what I'm saying, Kevin, it had a tremendous impact on what happened with Jay. And that's why Jay was willing to come on here. These aren't paid people that come on and say good things about me. They come on and say good things about me because it's made a difference in their life. And when I make one difference in somebody's life, that difference helps make a difference in everybody else's life, because it gives you guys faith and hope that hard work and dedication can create a better outcome for you as well. And that's why we do what we do. With that said, I'm about to go eat some stuffed cabbage, vegan style. Hope you guys have an amazing night. The video is about 30 minutes. We're going to start making the single videos around this time, or a little bit shorter, and then we'll do the interviews a little bit longer. We've got an amazing interview that should be coming to you guys on Wednesday. Don't want to tell you too much about it, but it's a gentleman that went to prison for 10 years for committing murder. And he's out now, and we're going to talk to him about his situation in prison and what it was like, the differences between state and feds. So it's going to be a really interesting interview, something different that we haven't done here on the show before. So watch out for that. That will be Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, guys, I don't know why I keep doing this. I keep touching my hands like I'm making hamburgers. That's the hamburger motion. This is what they must teach you in politics school, is when you're talking to the crowd, pretend like you're making hamburgers so you don't fidget too much. All right, guys, I'm going to fidget out of here. Have a great week. Love every single one of you. People helping people every single day, one day at a time. Community as method. Peace.